Hi, everybody. My name is Anjeanette Oberg, and I am your psychology professor, although I hate that word. I don't know, professors profess, right? And they seem so, I don't know, prestigious. I'm a teacher, and although I definitely think it's a sacred job and role, I think teachers come from a different place and perspective. And so I want to create a classroom where there is no hierarchy, right? We're all kind of in this together, learning and growing from one another. I might be a little bit further along in my educational journey, but I'm still a student. I'm doing my doctorate. I'm committed to lifelong learning, and I'm going to learn and grow just as much from you as I hope to share and teach you along the way as well. So I just want to give you a little bit about my background so you can kind of understand who I am and what goes into your courses and your design. I'm actually a high school dropout and a teen mom and first generation college student. I have 10 brothers and sisters, and so I have an interesting family dynamic. There's four of us that are my biological mom and dad's children. My parents divorced when I was two, and my mom remarried a man with three children, and my dad remarried a woman with four children. So I grew up with 10 brothers and sisters, and I was the second to the youngest. So I'm a bit of a scrapper, right? And I'm used to kind of the chaos of a big family. Any of you who come from a big family know what I'm talking about. But of the four biological children, three of us dropped out of high school. Only one of us did our high school diploma. And interestingly enough, she didn't continue beyond her high school diploma, even though certainly had the capacity. That being said, I was a teen mom, and I'm fortunate enough to, even though my parents didn't have a high school diploma, gosh, my dad was illiterate most of my life. My mom was still an avid reader, and she just consumed books like water. And consequently, she had a really extensive vocabulary, excellent grammar, and she really impressed that upon me as well. So I decided when I was really young, I didn't want a dead end job. I wanted a job where I had opportunity for growth and promotion and where I could grow and develop over time. And so I went to him at Federal Savings and Loan and I applied for my first job. And admittedly, I had to lie to get it. I lied on my application and said that I was a high school graduate, and I wasn't. Unfortunately, my grammar, my vocabulary, you would never have known. I didn't drop out of school because I wasn't capable. I dropped out of school because I had a difficult family circumstance, and I didn't grow up in a healthy family environment. My dad was abusive, and physically it was a struggle and a challenge, and just lots of other complications that came up in life. And so, that being said, I was fortunate that I was able to have passing privilege, right? And I stepped into this professional environment and I sounded like I was educated, but I really wasn't. And I was very thankful for that experience. It shaped me professionally into who I am today, and it had a huge influence on my life, no doubt. But that being said, I switched banks and I kind of had a big mouth and I got myself fired. And unfortunately, here I am now, unemployed, no high school diploma, no college education. What was I going to do? So I decided to go back to school and I did my high school diploma through Riverside Adult Education. I started taking classes at RCC, Riverside Community College back then. And I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do at the time, but I just knew that I needed to go back to school and build a better future for my son. And I went to RCC. At first, I thought maybe I want to be an obstetrician. And then my son at the time, he was 5. He had a classmate on his team whose dad was in med school, never could stay for games or practices. And I thought, that's not the kind of parent that I want to be. I want to be able to be involved in my son's soccer and his life and his school and in ways that my parents weren't. And so I decided that wasn't the right degree for me. And I found psychology and human development. and I fell in love. Sadly, though, after getting my associate's degree, I ended up actually taking a detour. I got married, and my husband was very threatened by my education. He did not want me in school. He did not want me working. He wanted me to really be at home and barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen. I did have our daughter Alexis, so now I have two children. After I finished my associate's degree, I stopped. It just caused too much conflict. 2 weeks into our marriage, he smacked me, and it was a shock for me. But now, having studied the characteristics of domestic violence perpetrators, I see the patterns that were there, right? And I definitely see red flags that I wasn't aware of in our dating time. And so I'm much more informed. My education has given me a new lens. That being said, I was used to being hit by a man and then told that, he loved me. That's my dad did that to me my whole life. And so it was kind of normal for me, sadly, and it conditioned me for the domestic violence. But fortunately, he cheated on me, and that wasn't familiar to me. And I thought, damn, like I'm not going to get knocked around and cheated on at the same time. And that was my straw. And so I filed for a restraining order and we separated. Here now, I'm not working, I have no job, I have no education. I have two young kids now who are fully dependent upon me, no way to pay our mortgage. And so our house foreclosed, my credit was ruined. I had no work history, I couldn't even rent. So I found myself homeless and I couch surfed. But I got to tell you, that was a really turning point in my life because at that point, I determined nobody can ever take your education from you, and I will never put my education aside again. And so I applied to Cal State San Bernardino. I was accepted, and I found a job in financial services. And I said, look, I'm in the middle of an ugly divorce. My kids are my priority, and my school's my priority. And if you can handle that and support me in those endeavors, I will work hard and I will commit myself to the success of your business. And that's what happened. Mike and I actually ended up dating. We were together for 16 years, and we grew a very successful business over that time. But that being said, I went on to Cal State San Bernardino, and I did 2 bachelor's degrees. I have one in psychology, one in human development. I also graduated with both departmental and university honors. I did the honors program, so I gained some research experience. I had the opportunity to present some research at WPA. I won a research conference, and I never saw myself as, a scholar. My gosh, when I first started out, I didn't even know what staff meant in the class schedule. I thought that person, I was like, wow, this person teaches a lot of classes. I didn't know what FAFSA was. I didn't know you had to buy Scantrons and textbooks. I really had to figure all of that out on my own. And so to go to now at a bachelor's degree level, presenting research at a conference and being honored with an award for my research, that was pretty remarkable. I decided I was going to do my master's degree, and so I did my master's degree in psychology. Interestingly enough, when I was doing my bachelor's degrees, my mom was inspired to go back to school, and so she actually did her associates at San Bernardino Valley College, and she transferred over to Cal State with me. So when I started my master's program, my mom was starting her bachelor's programs. We were a little competitive with one another. Since I got 2 degrees, she had to get 2 degrees. Since I graduated with honors, she had to graduate with honors. So we pushed each other and we challenged each other and we teased each other. But she became my biggest fan and cheerleader, and I became hers. And in doing my master's degree, I couldn't have done it without my mom. My mom was my champion. I also had a baby during that time, and that's when I discovered teaching. I started teaching in graduate school and I loved it. I absolutely fell in love, and students seemed to click well with me. And I remember I would go to the lounge and I would nurse my son, and then I'd leave him with my mom and she'd watch him, and I'd go teach a class, and then I'd come back and get him, and then she'd go to class. And that's how I figured out my master's degree. It was a really tricky juggling act the whole time, all the while still managing $1 million practice. And so I know what it's like to juggle, right? To juggle motherhood. Now I have 3 children. I'm balancing a full-time career. I'm going to school full-time. I'm trying to start teaching, and it was a lot. But hard work, perseverance, a really great support system, and I pressed on. In 2007, I graduated with my master's degree. When you graduate with your master's, you get to sit at the front, and they hood you. You're the first one to receive your degrees. And I was so honored because I got to be in the front row that same day that my mom walked across the stage and graduated with her 2 degrees. She earned her degree in social work and criminal justice, and she earned her honors course. My mom went on to do her master's degree in social work at the age of 59. Both of us are examples of the fact that it's never too late, overcoming the odds. And I'm happy to say that 2 years later, my son from when I was a teen mom walked across that same stage, not 2 years later, but 2016, he walked across that stage with 2 degrees. He got his degree in music technology and math. So we went from a family we were filled with high school dropouts to now a legacy of education. And I'm honored to say that my son is now in grad school, studying to be a math professor and a researcher. And my daughter is finishing up her 2 bachelor's degrees in liberal studies and sociology, and she is going to be doing her teaching credential and a master's degree in social work. So she will also be working in education. She's actually working at Palomar now, running a mental health peer education program that we launched. And she's been by my side, and we've done mental health advocacy, sexual assault, domestic violence awareness. We've done LGBTQ advocacy, and we have done racial justice advocacy. So I'm proud to have my children working in education, changing the world through education. Nelson Mandela said it's the greatest weapon that we have to change the world. And I firmly believe I'm changing the world one student at a time. My goal is to inspire you to know your worth, to know your passion and purpose, and give yourself permission to discover those things along the way, to prioritize you and your goals and help you achieve your goals and get to where you want to be, ideally, so you can avoid some of the pitfalls that I ran into along the way. But ultimately, I want you to become a strong advocate for yourself, for your family, for your community. I want you to be a critical consumer of information. I want you to make informed decisions with your life. And I want you to develop an appreciation and respect for the diverse experiences of others. Advocate for others who may not have the same opportunities. Be cognizant of your privilege and use your privilege to advocate for the well-being of others. So that's kind of, who I am and what I'm about. I'm always here to support you. My door is always open. I am a fierce advocate for students. I believe in you. And I want you to know that you've given me my life back. It was through teaching that I found myself and that I found my sense of self-love and worth. And you guys inspired me to be the person I am today. So I'm happy to give back to you. I'm happy to let you learn and grow from my experiences and my mistakes. And together we will change the world.